Have you ever had something go wrong and thought, why now of all times? Only to realize later that it was exactly what needed to happen. Nothing is a coincidence, my friend. Not the losses, not the delays, not the people who show up. And no, not the ones who leave either. Everything has a purpose, even if you only see it when you look back. The Stoics already believed this. What happens, happens the way it was meant to happen. And when you accept that, something shifts. You stop fighting what's happening and start learning from it. And yes, there are days when everything feels like a bad joke. You try your best and it doesn't work out. You trust someone and they let you down. You hope for something and get the exact opposite. But what if none of that was a mistake? What if every hit, every turn, every silence carried a message you just haven't learned to read yet? In this video, I'm going to show you how Stoicism can help you understand that destiny doesn't get it wrong. That even the painful stuff comes with meaning. That when you stop resisting, life stops punishing you and starts teaching you. So stick around, because today, you might finally understand why everything happened exactly the way it had to. Now I'm going to make you think. Have you ever noticed how everything seems to fall apart just when you're trying hardest to keep it all under control? Like life flips you upside down, as if it's forcing you to stop and look in another direction. If that sounds familiar, then this channel is for you. Subscribe and join us on this journey of learning to understand what used to only hurt. And tell me in the comments, what part of your life do you feel is asking for a change right now? Or just write, I trust the path. Because maybe everything that's confusing you today is exactly what's guiding you. Are you ready to find out? Nothing is a coincidence. Sometimes life feels like a chain of mistakes, until one day you look back and realize everything actually fit together. Temple Grandin was born into a world she couldn't understand. As a child, she avoided contact, couldn't stand sounds, lights, or even the touch of another person. Doctors were blunt. She won't speak. She won't be able to take care of herself. For many, that was a sentence. For her, it was just noise. In those early years, chaos was her language. She took refuge in observing patterns, movements, textures. Where others saw disorder, Temple saw logic. Life was showing her a different language, even if she didn't understand it yet. At school, she was rejected, ridiculed, pushed aside. Every day she came home with the feeling that she didn't belong anywhere. But right in that misfit, in that place where no one could understand her, her purpose started to take shape. Years later, while visiting a farm, she noticed something no one else seemed to see. The animals were moving in fear. Every noise, every shadow, made them tremble. And for the first time, Temple understood that the very thing that had isolated her all her life, her extreme sensitivity, her unique way of perceiving the world, was the key to understanding them. She began designing curved corrals and more humane systems for guiding livestock. She knew what scared them, because she felt it too. She turned her difference into compassion, her loneliness into innovation. Years later, her work completely transformed the way animals are treated around the world. And then she understood. Nothing she had lived through was a mistake. Not the tears, not the exclusion, not the silent nights. Everything had prepared her to see what others couldn't. There's something deeply stoic in her story. Temple didn't choose what life gave her, but she did choose how to respond. She didn't look for blame or explanations. She looked for meaning. Like Marcus Aurelius said, life doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you need to become stronger. Temple's suffering wasn't a punishment. It was her training. Every rejection was a lesson in empathy. Every obstacle, an invitation to turn sensitivity into purpose. And maybe that's the great truth we forget when things go wrong. That detours don't destroy the path, they reveal it. That what looks like chaos today might be the exact preparation for what will make you unique tomorrow. Temple Grandin didn't find her purpose in applause or luck. She found it by accepting that everything, even the pain, had meaning. And you're in the middle of that same process. Maybe you can't see it yet, but life doesn't get it wrong. Nothing is a coincidence. Everything has a purpose. All you need is patience and the courage to trust the process. Let's go for it. First lesson. Every decision writes your destiny. Picture this. This morning when the alarm went off, you had that silent battle we all know. 5 more minutes in bed or start the day with intention. It's such a tiny, almost invisible moment. But right there, you're already choosing between 2 completely different futures. Epictetus would have understood this perfectly. Not because he believed in perfection, but because he knew that every choice, even the smallest ones, brings you closer or further from the person you say you want to be. It may sound exaggerated, but your life is being written in those everyday moments, in whether you respond calmly or with anger, in whether you follow through with what you said you'd do or leave it for tomorrow. Every decision, every word, even what you decide not to do is shaping your destiny, and that has nothing to do with luck. It's about alignment. Sometimes we think the important stuff happens in the big moments, a new job, a trip, a huge life change. But my friend, your destiny is being built quietly, when no one's watching. In the moment you choose to get up even when you don't feel like it, or stay calm when everything is pushing you to lose control. That's not chance, that's purpose. Marcus Aurelius used to start his days reminding himself that he would soon run into impatient, arrogant, or ungrateful people. And still, he had to act with virtue. That was how he prepared his soul. He didn't expect the day to be perfect. He expected himself to respond with wisdom. That's the key. Not waiting for life to align with you, but choosing to align yourself with what life is asking from you. Think about all the times you've said, "I'll start tomorrow." That tomorrow that never comes is just a way of postponing your purpose. Because every time you put off something you know you should do, you're choosing who's in charge, your emotions or your will. Epictetus said freedom is wanting what already happens. He didn't mean surrendering. He meant accepting reality as your starting point to act. Your environment matters too. If every time you try to focus, your phone is right there, you're building your own trap. Change the setup to make the right choice easier. That's not about willpower, it's about being smart. Set up reminders of who you want to be. Writing a single sentence before bed may seem like nothing, but that repeated gesture is what reprograms your mind to believe in yourself. And of course, not everything will go perfectly. There'll be days when you give in to tiredness or distraction. That's okay. If you learn to observe yourself without judgment, that's one of the hardest Stoic practices, forgiving yourself without making excuses. Instead of punishing your mistakes, figure out what decision led you there and adjust it. Every mistake has a purpose too, to show you the exact place where you still have room to grow. And that's exactly what James Clear explained, just in a more modern way. Every action is a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. A Stoic would have said it differently, but the idea is the same. You don't need huge motivation, you need consistency. Because real change doesn't come overnight. It comes when those small acts of alignment pile up until they become identity. So, each day is like a quiet little vote on who you're becoming. It's not about winning by a landslide, but about making sure that, over time, the choices you make most often are the ones that bring you closer to your best version. No one's going to cheer you on for turning off your phone or staying calm, but the reward lies in what those decisions build inside you. Imagine that every morning, there's a kind of internal election. 2 candidates, always the same. Your disciplined self and your comfortable self. One promises results, the other, instant gratification. There's no campaign or slogans, just tiny choices. When you wake up early, when you choose calm over drama, or when you simply do what you said you would, you're casting your vote for growth. But when you postpone, complain, or give in to, "I'll do it later," that vote goes to the other side. And it's okay to lose a few election days. We all have days when laziness wins by a landslide. What matters is not letting it rule your life. Every new morning is early voting. You can change the outcome. Because what you do more often is what ends up winning over time. In the end, destiny works a bit like that. a silent count of thousands of small decisions. No one sees them, but they all add up. Turning off your phone when you know you need to focus is a vote. Taking a breath before answering in anger is another. Standing firm when no one's watching counts too. So don't worry if motivation doesn't hit you all at once. What's going to transform you isn't the thrill of the moment. It's the repeated votes you cast day after day. Sometimes you'll win by just a little, sometimes by a landslide. But what really matters is that you keep showing up, because the version of you that will end up running your life is the one you vote for the most with your actions. So tonight, before you sleep, do what Marcus Aurelius did. Look back at your day with honesty. Ask yourself where you chose well and where you betrayed yourself. Not to feel guilty, but to realign your path. Because your destiny isn't built by luck. It's built by the sum of your conscious decisions. Lesson 2. What hurts, teaches. Always. Think of Seneca in exile. Far from Rome, far from his life, far from everything he once thought was secure. Everything that made up his identity had fallen apart. And still, there, isolated, he began writing the letters that today support millions of people. He wasn't in a temple of wisdom. He was wounded. He was alone. But in that silence, he discovered something essential. Pain doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to reveal you, to show you where you're weak, where you lack strength, where your soul still needs to grow. Seneca didn't romanticize the blow. He turned it into a school. And if you look at Epictetus, you'll find a similar story, but from a different kind of darkness. He didn't have freedom at the start of his life. He didn't choose his circumstances. He didn't design his stage. He was a slave. Life wasn't gentle with him. And yet, from that limited space came one of the most practical teachings we have. What wounds you is not the event itself, but the interpretation you make of it. This isn't about denying the pain. It's about not letting that pain rule you. There are experiences you can't control, but you can choose how to relate to them. Now let's bring it down to where it really hurts, your daily life. You're building something, a project, a relationship, a plan for the future. You're doing it with excitement and energy. Until something breaks, it gets canceled, someone lets you down, something doesn't work out, and that automatic phrase pops up, the one we all know, why me? But look at what happens when you change just one word. What for me? That tiny shift opens a door. It gives you back your power. It reminds you that what you're living through is not punishment. It could be a signal. It could be a realignment. It could be a beginning. Because everything that happens has intention, even if you can't see the full picture yet. Sometimes the lesson is patience. Sometimes it's boundaries. Sometimes it's learning to let go. Sometimes it's realizing that not everything you wanted was truly meant for you. No, we're not going to lie. It hurts. And it hurts deeply. But it's a kind of pain that pushes, that wakes you up, that reveals. Here's how you can train yourself for it. At the start of your day, before the world sweeps you away, take a minute to imagine 2 possible setbacks. Not to stress, but to prepare your response. If the meeting gets canceled, I keep building. If someone speaks to me badly, I respond with calm or ask what's going on. This won't get rid of your problems, but it will get rid of the shock. And the surprise is often what hurts the most. When the hit comes, name it, without turning it into a tragedy. This frustrates me. This scares me. Naming lowers the emotional volume, then give it purpose. With this, I'll train patience. With this, I'll learn to hold myself up. That's the moment when pain stops being just pain and becomes a teacher. And so this doesn't stay theoretical. Listen to this. Inky Johnson, one of the most promising talents in American football, was left with his right arm paralyzed after a play. His whole life had been built around that dream. And in 1 second, it was over. He could have stayed stuck in rage or in the why me, but he chose a different question. He chose what for. Today, he inspires thousands, not from a perfect story, but from a wound that never disappeared but changed shape. His pain became his purpose. Now picture Marcus Aurelius, writing late at night, tired, cold, sick, still grieving losses that hurt despite all his wisdom. And still, he wrote that line about how what stands in the way can become the way. That wasn't a phrase for his statue. It was a phrase to survive his night. So next time something hurts, don't rush to shut it down. Don't hide behind distractions. Sit with it for a second. Breathe, name it, ask what it's for, and take one small action that honors what you've learned. You don't have to heal everything today. You just have to use this blow today. Because when you start listening to what pain is trying to tell you, something shifts. What once felt like an enemy becomes a coach. What seemed like punishment becomes direction. And that's where your real strength begins. And remember this, nothing in your life is happening by accident. Not what you lost, not what hurt you, not what you're learning right now. Everything is building something inside you that's not finished yet. Everything has meaning, even what you don't understand yet. Now tell me, what recent hit is shaping you from the inside, even if you still don't know what for? The answer you write today might become clarity tomorrow, and if you don't feel like going into detail, that's okay. Just write, I don't run from pain. I listen to it. Let that sentence be your commitment to yourself. Lesson 3. No one shows up in your life by accident. Picture a cold night in the military camp. Marcus Aurelius sits in front of an oil lamp, paper laid out, pen ready. Outside, the wind shakes the tents. There's tension, there's exhaustion, there's war. That day, someone close to him has betrayed him. It's not the first time. And still, before giving in to resentment, he takes a breath and writes, don't expect a fig not to have juice. People act according to their nature. He doesn't write it to convince anyone. He writes it to remind himself that every person who comes into his life, even the one who hurts, has a role. It's not random. It's not an accident. And even if it hurts, there's something to observe, something to learn, something to understand. Picture the scene. He could have cursed. He could have shut down. He could have used his power to destroy. But instead, he chooses to understand. And that's something profoundly difficult. Because when someone lets us down, the first thing we want to do is protect ourselves, slam the door, harden our chest. But Marcus Aurelius understood that every encounter is a chance to see yourself more clearly. What the other person does shows something about you. Your reaction, your patience, your limits, your ego, your pain. Now think about your life. How many people have shown up at times you weren't expecting? Some lifted you up, some broke you, some passed like a whisper, others like an earthquake. And yet, when you look back, you start to see a thread. Nothing was as accidental as it seemed. Maybe you reconnected with someone right when you needed to remember what you were still capable of feeling. Maybe someone left without explanation, and that forced you to learn how to stand on your own. Maybe a betrayal was what pushed you to change course. Maybe unexpected support was what kept you going when you were about to give up. Let me share something close to home. A friend of mine was in a job that had been draining his soul for a long time. He felt something was off but didn't dare to leave. Until one day a coworker he trusted exposed him in front of everyone, betrayed him. He felt angry, confused, deeply hurt. He spent weeks replaying it all in his head, demanding justice. Until one day, no drama. He just looked at the situation calmly. If that betrayal hadn't happened, he would have stayed stuck in a life he hadn't chosen. That blow opened the door he didn't want to open himself. It wasn't random. It was the push. Seneca said that living with others is training for the soul, but he didn't say it so you'd tolerate abuse or stay where you're being hurt. He said it because how you respond to others reveals who you are. The one who provokes you shows you your impatience. The one who lies to you teaches you where you need boundaries. The one who inspires you points toward who you're meant to be. The one who loves you well reminds you that you deserve to be treated with care. Every relationship is a mirror, but not all mirrors reflect the same thing. This isn't about justifying what hurts. It's about not wasting the message. Think about this. The next time someone crosses your boundaries and it hurts, instead of getting stuck in why, ask, what is this feeling showing me? That question isn't glamorous, but it shifts you from reactive pain to awareness. If you want to bring it into real life, try this over the week. When someone irritates you, take a moment to observe what part of you is being touched. Maybe it's not about the other person. Maybe it's something inside you that had been asleep. At night, before you sleep, reflect on one meaningful encounter from the day. Not to obsess over it, just to extract the lesson it left you. And later, when someone leaves your life, don't cling. Seneca said it plainly. Nothing belongs to us, not even the people we love. Be grateful while it lasts. Learn what you can, let go when it's time. My friend, what we're saying here is simple, but not easy. Every person who shows up is part of the process that's shaping you. There are no useless encounters. No connection is wasted. Even the ones who hurt you contributed to your awakening. Even the ones who arrived late arrived on time. Even the ones who didn't stay had already played their part. And maybe, when you look back years from now, you'll see that what you once called coincidence was guidance. That what hurts today was shaping your character. That those who came and went were preparing your heart to love more truthfully. That nothing was by chance. That every soul who touched yours had something to give you. When you start to understand this, you stop seeing your story as a series of accidents. You start seeing a pattern, a design, a direction, and that's when life starts to make sense. Lesson 4. Your habits reveal who you are. Think of your life as a sculpture, not a finished one, but one still in progress. Right there, in the middle of the workshop. The marble still has rough edges, shapeless parts, areas that need patience. And every day, without exception, you pick up the chisel. Not with grand heroic strikes, but with small, quiet taps that almost no one sees. Those are your habits, what you repeat, what you do without thinking too much. That is what, little by little, is shaping your form. The Stoics didn't talk about character as something you either have or don't have. They saw it as something you build. Marcus Aurelius didn't write to prove his greatness to the world. He wrote to remind himself how he wanted to respond to life, even on the most exhausting days. Daily practice was his foundation. Epictetus lived it the same way. If you look closely, his teaching wasn't flashy or dramatic. He said that no great achievement happens suddenly, and he was right. Who you are today is the sum of all the small actions you've repeated without even noticing. But here's where something familiar shows up. We wait to feel like it. We wait for inspiration. We wait for that moment when suddenly everything gets easier. And when it doesn't come, we think something's wrong. But inspiration is an unannounced guest. It doesn't always show up. And when it does, it doesn't stay. So what keeps you going isn't the rush of beginning. It's quiet consistency. Seneca compared the soul to the body. If you train the body every day, it gets stronger. If you neglect it, it weakens. The mind is exactly the same. If you give in to impulse every day, if you constantly postpone what you know you need to do, if you feed complaints, your character gets weaker. But if every day you choose one small action that supports your purpose, even if no one sees it, even if it seems insignificant, something inside you becomes steadier. Think about it for a moment. What do you do during the first 10 minutes of your day? It might not seem like a big deal, but that's where your direction begins. If the first thing you do is check your phone, your mind starts out comparing, rushing, getting distracted. But if the first thing you do is breathe, hydrate, write a sentence, open the window, your day begins from a different place. This isn't theoretical spirituality. It's practical attention. It's deciding which part of you is going to lead that day. What gets repeated sticks. Now imagine something. Marcus Aurelius had barely opened his eyes. He didn't wake up inspired every day. Sometimes he was sick. Sometimes he was exhausted from war, from leadership, from the weight of his position. And still, every morning he would say something like, "Today I will face difficulties. Today I will meet people who don't act how I'd like them to. And even so, I will choose to respond with virtue." That was his ritual, not to control the world, to control himself. You can do the same. It doesn't need to be complicated. You can say something simple. Today, I will stay calm even if there's noise. Today, I will keep my word to myself, even if no one notices. Today, I will care for what I'm building even if it takes time. And here's something important. Replacing is more effective than eliminating. If you want to stop doing something that drains you, don't just try to forbid it. The brain doesn't get the idea of a void. Give it something new to do. If you spend too much time on social media, leave a book open on your desk. If you procrastinate, leave the task started so there's no resistance tomorrow. If you want to walk more, put your shoes where you can see them. It's not about willpower. It's about direction. At the end of the day, take a minute to observe, without judgment. Ask yourself, what did I do today that brought me closer to the person I want to be? And what pulled me further away? This review isn't for guilt, it's to adjust the chisel, because the sculpture isn't made in 10 strikes, it's made in thousands. And here's where we connect to something bigger, without having to name it too much. Every habit you choose doesn't live in isolation. It's part of a sequence, a process, a movement that's transforming you from within. Nothing you repeat is neutral. It either builds you or breaks you down. Your habits are the echo of the destiny you're creating. Life doesn't carry you by accident. You guide it through what you repeat. My friend, next time you say, well, it's just one day, remember this. One day becomes 2, 2 becomes 10, 10 becomes a year. And without realizing it, your sculpture will be shaped by a pattern you didn't really choose. But if today, even in something small, you act with intention, you're saying, I'm showing up for my life, I'm carving it. I'm not letting the marble shape itself. Your greatness won't be found in what others applaud. It'll be in what you do when no one's watching. Because what you repeat defines who you are. And who you are defines where you're headed. And where you're headed, even if you don't see it yet, has meaning. Every strike, every gesture, every habit is building something that's still unfolding. Lesson 5. Failure doesn't take anything from you. It shows you what really matters. That's exactly what Seneca learned. Failure shows you what's essential. Picture him in his final days, not as a solemn philosopher, but as a man who knows his story is coming to an end. He's sitting in a simple room, no decoration, surrounded by silence. He's been unjustly accused. The life he built, his influence, his position, has all been thrown into question. He could have fallen into despair, into anger, into hopelessness. But he doesn't. He makes a different choice. To write, to reflect, to be present. And he does it calmly. Not because he wasn't afraid, but because he had spent his whole life preparing for this. To lose everything, and still remain himself. That's what it means to have not lost what's essential. Now let's come back to you. How many times have you felt something in your life collapse? A project that didn't work out, a relationship that fell apart, an opportunity that slipped away, and immediately that heavy feeling of failure shows up. That knot in your chest, that voice that says, I couldn't do it. But pause for a moment. Falling isn't the loss. What matters is what gets revealed when you're on the ground. Because right there, where nothing seems to hold, is where the truth shows up. Sometimes we think failure takes away our worth, that it makes us smaller, that it leaves us empty. But my friend, what failure really does is strip away what was never truly yours. Other people's expectations, the masks you wore to fit in, the goals you chased just to prove something. Failure doesn't destroy your essence, it reveals it. It leaves standing only what doesn't depend on circumstances, your will, your character, your ability to rise again. I want you to remember something. Every time you've strayed from your path, life has used a hit to correct you. Not to punish you, but to remind you of something you'd forgotten, who you are and where you're going. When a plan falls apart, it's because it was already being held up by something fragile. Failure isn't the enemy, it's the signal. It's the warning that something no longer fits your growth. Imagine you're building a house and suddenly a wall collapses. Of course it hurts. Of course, it throws everything into chaos. But if that wall was poorly built, better that it falls now, before the roof is on. That's what life does. It knocks things down before it's too late. And yes, it does it in a way that sometimes hurts. Because growing hurts. Because moving forward takes effort. But that pain is pointing the way. Epictetus spoke about this with no drama. He said what matters isn't what happens, but how you respond. And in that response lies true victory. You don't control all outcomes. You don't decide who stays, who leaves, what falls apart, what holds together. But you do decide what to do with what's left after the collapse. That's your power. Marcus Aurelius also went through defeats, losses, and disillusionment. He could have given up 1,000 times. He could have looked for someone to blame. He could have turned his pain into resentment. But he chose something else. To stay in alignment. To keep acting from virtue, not from fear. Not because it was easy, but because he understood that meaning isn't found in winning, but in how you walk through the fall. I want you to do something now. Take your time. Think of a failure that still stings a little when you remember it. Something you feel broke you. Look at that memory without justifying it and without fighting it. Take a breath and ask yourself, what part of me was revealed in that moment? What did I learn about myself when I was at rock bottom with nothing to prove? That's where the lesson was hiding. And if you want a simple practice for this week, here it is. When something doesn't go the way you expected, before reacting, pause. Don't rush to fix it. Don't rush to blame yourself. First breathe, then ask, what is life asking me to let go of here? What's being revealed that I didn't want to see before? Then take just one small step, just one. Don't try to rebuild the whole house in a day. Just lay one brick, with intention. Because failure, when looked at with honesty, gives you back what's truly yours. Your clarity, your strength, your ability to begin again. And starting again isn't a setback, it's moving forward, with less baggage and more truth. When you look back years from now, you'll see that the doors that closed weren't losses. They were redirections. They were life saying, not this way, this way. Nothing that fell apart was wasted. Everything that remained was essential. And what's essential, though sometimes buried under pain, always endures. Now, I want us to do something together. Think of your last fall, the one that still hurts to remember. What if it wasn't a mistake? What if it came precisely to show you something you hadn't been willing to see? Nothing is a coincidence, not even that. If you feel like it, share in the comments what you're learning from that fall. I'm here and I'll read it. And if today you don't have the words, or you just don't want to open up, that's perfectly fine. Just write, I'm still standing. Because sometimes that sentence is the greatest proof of your strength. Lesson 6. When life slows down, it's because it's preparing you. How do you think Marcus Aurelius responded when life came to a halt? When plans stalled, when war paused, when Rome seemed to be suspended in a strange kind of silence? Did he panic? Did he ask what he'd done wrong? No, he sat down, he observed, he breathed, he wrote. He had learned to recognize that stillness was also part of the path. That destiny doesn't only speak through movement, but also through pause. And that's something you and I need to remember. Because there are moments when everything seems frozen. Those days when projects don't move forward, opportunities don't show up, ideas stop flowing, and your motivation disappears. You feel like life slammed on the brakes, and you start to wonder if you've lost your way, if you're falling behind, if you're failing. But my friend, nothing slows down without reason. Life doesn't improvise. When something stops, it's because something inside you is being reorganized, even if you can't see it. Think of a seed buried underground. From the outside, it looks lifeless. But on the inside, everything is happening. The roots are forming the strongest part, the part that holds up everything else. If someone got impatient and dug it up to check on it, they'd kill the process. And many times, that's exactly what we do with our own lives. We force it, we push, we demand results now, and we don't realize we're interrupting our own growth. Seneca spoke about this in a very human way. He said the soul needs time to absorb. What happens to you doesn't settle instantly. Experience needs time to rest, to ferment, to develop meaning. Without that pause, there's no transformation. That's why there are stages when life seems dimmed, when there are no big emotions, no major wins, no great stories to tell. And even though it might feel empty, that's when you're strengthening something essential, your foundation. The hard part isn't action. The hard part is accepting the pause, because the mind wants to run. It wants to feel progress. It wants results to feel safe. So when life pauses, it panics. That's when comparison creeps in, doubt, pressure. You start to believe everyone else is moving while you're stuck. But remember this, no one shows you their winters. Everyone has them. Look at your life like seasons. There are times for planting, times for blooming, and times for resting. And if you try to bloom in winter, you break. Here, Stoicism isn't inviting you to give up. It's inviting you to cooperate with the moment. When life stops, don't force yourself to move. Move inward. Observe. Adjust. Listen to what you've been ignoring for too long. Here's something practical you can try during these quiet times. Instead of asking, "Why is nothing happening?" ask yourself, "What is growing inside me while I wait?" That one question can shift your perspective. It moves you out of anxiety and into purpose. And when that question appears, silence stops being the enemy. It becomes space. Because in silence, intention becomes clear. Motives are purified. What truly matters is revealed. Maybe you wanted to move fast, but you didn't know where you were going. Maybe you were moving just to impress, not to grow. Maybe you were chasing something that was never even yours. The pause shows you that. And when movement returns, it comes back different, more focused, stronger, more you. I want you to hold on to this image. Life doesn't stop to punish you. It stops to align you. Nothing stalls for no reason. Nothing is delayed by accident. Sometimes you need to slow down just so you can finally see the path clearly. And now I want to ask you something gently. Do you feel like you're in a stage like that right now? A stage where everything is quiet, nothing moves, and you're waiting for something you can't quite name? If you are, don't fight that feeling. Write it down. Give it form. Sometimes clarity comes when you dare to say it out loud. You can tell me in the comments. And if you don't feel like explaining, that's fine too. Just write, "I'm in process." And that sentence spoken from within is already growth. Because even when life comes to a stop, even then, nothing is a coincidence. Lesson 7. Losing is also moving forward. I want you to remember a very specific moment. That day when something you believed was secure suddenly disappeared. Maybe it was someone you thought would stay forever, or a job that meant stability, or a dream that had been with you for years. And suddenly it was gone, and you were left standing there with that hollow feeling in your chest, as if the world had stopped for a second. In those moments, the first thing we think is, this shouldn't be happening. It's human to feel that, it's human to hurt. But this is where the Stoic view steps in, gentle but firm, without sugarcoating it. Seneca wrote that nothing belongs to us, not even the people we love most deeply. He didn't say it to teach coldness, but to remind us that life doesn't take away what's essential. What's essential always stays within us, because it's part of our character. What leaves is what no longer had a place in our growth, even if we struggled to see it. Loss is not punishment, it's direction. Life, with a precision that often frustrates us, moves us when we're too afraid to move ourselves. What leaves doesn't do so by accident, my friend. Nothing is a coincidence. What leaves is saying, you can't grow here anymore. It's time to walk towards something else. It feels harsh, I know, especially when you built your life around that thing. When you used to say, without this, I don't know who I am. And yet the real lesson comes when that pillar breaks, because that's when something deeper shows up. The opportunity to discover who you were beyond what you had. Marcus Aurelius had to learn how to let go too. He lost children, brothers, allies. He suffered betrayals and goodbyes that marked both his heart as a father and as an emperor. And even so, he wrote in his meditations that everything that disappears still belongs to the natural order of life. Nothing breaks outside of purpose. What changes is the form, not the essence. Think about your own story. Think of something you lost that once felt like an injustice. Maybe you begged for it to return. Maybe you waited for an explanation. And over time, with the slow and quiet passing of time, you realized something. If that had stayed in your life, you wouldn't be who you are today. That loss, as painful as it was, pushed you to grow. It forced you to get to know yourself. It made you find your strength within, not in what surrounded you. And that's what loss comes to show us. It points out where our attachments were, where we'd placed our identity, what we were holding on to as if it were indispensable. Loss, when looked at from within, is a revelation. It leaves you with only what truly matters, and what matters is you. But this isn't about pretending you don't feel the sadness. It's not about acting tough. If something hurts, let yourself feel it. Pain is part of the process too. Tears don't make you weak. They cleanse. When you cry, the pressure around your heart begins to ease. But don't build your home inside that pain. Stay as long as you need, but not longer than necessary. Pain is a season, not an identity. Sometimes life has to empty your hands so you can receive something new. But if you keep clinging to what's already gone, you leave no room for what's coming. Loss creates space, and that space, uncomfortable as it may be, is where the new can begin to grow. Now I want you to imagine something. Imagine that everything that left at the exact moment it was supposed to. Not earlier, not later. Imagine it reached exactly as far as it was meant to go, that it fulfilled its role, that it left you with a seed. You might not see that seed yet, but it's there. It's taking root in how you now see the world, in how you take care of yourself, in how you love. Nothing left without leaving something behind. The Stoic doesn't run from goodbyes. He honors them. He's grateful for what was, even if it ended sooner than he'd hoped. And then he keeps walking, because he understands that moving forward also means letting go. That sometimes what truly hurts is holding on, and that setting yourself free, even if it's slow and deep, is always a way to breathe again. And now I want to tell you this, gently. If you're going through a loss right now, you are not failing. You are not broken. You are in transition. Life isn't taking something away from you to leave you empty. It's clearing the space so you can finally find what's truly yours. What depends on no one else. What will carry you, even when everything else changes. Lesson 8. Purpose reveals itself as you walk. There's a question we all ask ourselves sooner or later. What am I supposed to do with my life? We repeat it as if somewhere out there, a clear answer is waiting for us. As if purpose were a kind of detailed map, a well-lit destination, something you suddenly uncover. But reality is different. Purpose doesn't show up before the journey. It shows up along the way. Think of Marcus Aurelius. He carried immense responsibilities, made decisions that affected an entire empire. Yet even he had moments of uncertainty. What he did was act with intention, step by step, staying aligned between what he thought and what he did. Clarity wasn't the starting point. It was the result of moving forward. And the same thing happens to us. Sometimes we think we need to have it all figured out before we begin. We wait for the perfect sign, the perfect timing, the perfect confidence. We tell ourselves, once I know exactly what I want, then I'll start. But that thought is a quiet trap. If you wait until you feel ready, you might spend years standing still. And stillness doesn't bring answers. Answers appear when you move. Epictetus understood this with remarkable clarity. He didn't focus on controlling outcomes. He focused on the inner direction behind each action. His strength was in continuing forward even without knowing the whole path. He said serenity doesn't come from everything going your way, but from learning how to move with whatever happens. It's not resignation, it's active trust. The trust of someone who walks forward without seeing the end and chooses to keep going anyway. We live in a time where we want everything clear, calculated, and defined before we take the first step. But think about everything you admire today: projects, relationships, changes, accomplishments. None of it began with absolute certainty. It all started with a small movement, imperfect, fragile, unfinished. And that was enough for something to begin. Seneca often insisted that character is shaped in daily practice, not in inspiration, not in grand revelations, but in the small acts of every day. In how you get up, how you speak, how you work, how you respond. Your purpose is already showing up in all of that, even if you can't name it yet. I want to offer you a different image. Don't think of purpose as a destination you need to reach. Think of it as an inner compass, one that only activates when you walk. If you stay still, it shows nothing. But if you start moving, even slowly, it begins to orient itself. And little by little, it becomes clearer. Maybe right now you feel like you're in a confusing place, like you have no direction, like you don't know what's next. And that feeling can be overwhelming. But my friend, that feeling is also part of the process. Purpose doesn't show up before you begin. It shows up while you dare to live without guarantees. The path will teach you what reflection alone cannot. Every step you take shows you something about yourself. Every experience, even the ones that feel like losses or mistakes, is revealing something. Nothing that's happened to you has been random. Nothing has been out of place. Every encounter, every fall, every pause has been shaping your inner foundation. Purpose isn't something you search for. It's something you embody. It manifests when you choose to act with integrity, even in small things. When you speak the truth, even if it's uncomfortable. When you keep your word, even if no one sees it. When you choose what builds you over what distracts you. Every time you do that, purpose gets clearer. Not because it suddenly appears, but because you're living it. If you can't see the full path today, that's okay. You only need to see the next step. Just one. Small. Real. Close. The rest will come later. Life has a way of showing us what we need at exactly the right moment. Not before. Not after. Now I want to ask you something. Something simple. What step could you take today, no matter how small, that feels right? Not perfect. Not final. Just the next one. Write it in the comments, give it shape, let it exist, and if you can't name it yet, that's okay. Just write, I trust the path. That's how we close this, with intention. That's how you claim it for yourself. Because purpose isn't found in the future. It reveals itself in what you do now. And nothing, absolutely nothing you've lived through up to this point has been a coincidence. When you begin to wake up, life begins to show you pieces you couldn't see before. If you're in that moment, don't ignore it. Look at the video right in front of you now. It might be the exact piece you were missing. Lesson 9. Coincidences are the language of the universe. There are moments when something happens and you just freeze, staring at the situation and thinking, that's strange. Right now, of all times. Maybe someone comes back into your life just when you're finally ready to understand something you couldn't before. Or a book falls into your hands on the exact day you needed that one sentence. Or an opportunity shows up right after you let go of something you knew was no longer for you. And you say, what a coincidence. But if you look closer, if you feel it from within, you know it's not. Ryan Holiday described something similar when he began diving deep into Stoicism. He wasn't trying to become anyone's guide or reference. He was simply following a genuine curiosity, an inner pull. And suddenly people started showing up. Projects aligned, books found their way to him, one after another, like puzzle pieces he hadn't planned for. Eventually, he understood. When you act from a place of authenticity, the world stops feeling chaotic and begins to organize itself around your coherence. Marcus Aurelius called that order logos. He didn't imagine it as something magical or mystical. He saw it as the natural structure that holds everything together, a quiet intelligence that weaves events together in ways we often don't understand until much later. That's why he wrote, "What happens, happens as it should." It wasn't resignation. It was awareness, observation, a deep trust that even the absurd has its place in a larger process. Think about your own life. Think about the times you've said, "If that hadn't happened, I never would have." It's easy to see the meaning when you look back. What's hard is trusting it while it's happening. What's hard is believing that what now feels like loss, confusion, or breaking apart will later reveal itself as a necessary piece. But if you pause, if you get quiet, if you connect with the intuition beneath the noise, you'll feel it. Nothing shows up in your life by mistake. Coincidences are how life speaks to you when you finally start to listen. Not when you're chasing something, not when you're trying to control everything, but when you let go, when you align, when you act from what feels true. The things that once seemed random start to make sense. Seneca said the wise person is never surprised, not because they know everything, but because they see the thread that connects things. That thread isn't visible to a rushed mind. It's not seen when you're in a hurry to get somewhere. It's seen when you're present, when you observe, when you live with more intention than speed. Maybe lately you've noticed patterns you didn't see before, repeating situations, people showing up with similar messages, shifts happening one after another. That's not coincidence. That's your life trying to tell you something. When something repeats, it's because you haven't fully understood it yet. When something leaves, it's because it already fulfilled its purpose. And when something arrives gently, without you forcing it, it's because you're finally ready to receive it. This doesn't mean you should obsess over finding signs in everything. It's not about overanalyzing every detail. It's something simpler, quieter, living awake, being aware, without being tense, noticing the moment something resonates with you, saying yes when something feels alive, saying no when something drains you. That's the kind of listening we're talking about. Imagine for a second that your life is a constant conversation with the world. You speak through your actions. Life responds through events. You move. Life rearranges. You take a step. Life adjusts. It's not magic, it's a relationship. And when you're aligned with who you really are, that conversation flows. When you're not, it turns into noise. And this is the central idea running through everything we've explored in this video. Nothing happens in isolation. Everything is connected. The good, the painful, what leaves, what arrives. Every piece fits in a way that maybe doesn't make sense now, but will later. Nothing is random. Everything has a purpose. So next time you feel that sense of, this had to happen, don't brush it off. Don't ignore it. Give it space. It might be life gently tapping you on the shoulder saying, keep going. This is the way. And here's a small practice you can try. Just for today, observe your day as if everything that happens has something to show you. Pay attention to the details, the conversations, the small synchronicities. Not to dissect them, just to be more present. Sometimes that's all it takes to start listening. Sometimes when you start to see the order beneath the chaos, you feel something shift, as if life, finally, is starting to make sense with who you are. That's the moment where many people stop. But we're going one step further. There's one last lesson, the one you don't understand with your mind, but with a heart in motion. The final lesson. Everything is connected, even what you don't understand yet. Seneca once said something that, if you truly take it in, can shift how you see your life. Everything that happens, even what seems like misfortune, contributes to the good of the whole. He didn't say it to sound poetic, and he wasn't trying to make anyone feel better. He said it because he saw it that way. He understood that what happens to us isn't random, isn't floating in isolation. Everything that becomes part of your story, what you loved, what you lost, what didn't work out, is also shaping you from within. Now think about this. When you look at your life too closely, all you see is chaos. like standing with your face pressed against a tapestry. You only see the tangled threads, the mismatched colors, the knots that seem like mistakes. And from there, it all feels unfair, confusing, hard to accept. But when you take a step back, even if it hurts, even if it takes time, the picture starts to take shape. What broke you, what slowed you down, what forced you to let go, it all had a place in something bigger, something that only becomes visible with distance. Marcus Aurelius lived inside that same complexity. His life was marked by wars, plagues, betrayals, and personal losses. And still, when he wrote quietly at night, he did it like someone who had already understood something deeper. That destiny doesn't make mistakes. For him, what happens isn't something to avoid or regret. It's something that had to happen, because it was part of awakening something in us. Not out of resignation, but from choosing to cooperate with the natural order that we're all part of. Now let's bring it back to you. Think of that person who showed up when you were falling apart, or the one who walked away when you thought you needed them the most. Think about the job that ended, the dream that seemed so clear but didn't come through, the path you thought was the right one, until it wasn't. At the time, it probably felt like loss. But now, with some distance, you can see something else. If that hadn't happened, you wouldn't be where you are now. You wouldn't have discovered certain strengths. You wouldn't have questioned what really matters. You wouldn't be the person you're becoming. That's how life works. First, it breaks you. Then with time, it shows you why. And it's not magic. It's not a mystical idea. It's something deeply real, even psychological. When you stop fighting what happens, when you stop repeating, "This shouldn't have happened," and instead face what actually is, something inside you becomes clear. Sometimes pain makes you more honest. Sometimes loss frees you from something you weren't ready to let go of. Sometimes silence forces you to finally hear yourself. And that kind of clarity, even if it arrives slowly, changes everything. The truth is, life is not abandoning you in the middle of chaos. It's shaping you, and it does it with a level of precision that, yes, can feel overwhelming. What hurts you today may be exactly what prepares you to carry something heavier tomorrow. What holds you back today might be what gives you direction later. And what you don't understand right now could become the quiet strength that grounds you in the future. But to see that, you need a little distance. You need to open up to the idea that maybe, just maybe, life knows what it's doing. That you don't need to have it all figured out. That you can stop asking for certainty and start building something even more valuable. Trust. Not blind trust. Not naive hope. But the kind of rational confidence the Stoics talked about. The kind that says, I'm still here, I'm still breathing, I'm still learning. And something in me keeps moving forward, even when I don't know how. Try this now. Look back at your life. Pick a moment that hurt. Just one. Don't analyze it, don't justify it, don't explain it away. Just observe it. And then ask yourself, what changed in me after that? What shifted? What grew? If you listen closely, something did. That's the thread you couldn't see before. Life doesn't choose your lessons by mistake, and you didn't make a mistake by surviving them. Maybe this is the real final lesson. Stop thinking it's you against the world, and start seeing that everything that's happened to you, everything, is part of your preparation. That even what you still don't understand is already helping shape your future clarity. Nothing is random. Nothing is wasted. Everything is connected. Even this. Sometimes it's hard to see the meaning in what we're living, because we're too close to the pain, to the change, to the waiting. But if there's one thing you've seen today, it's that nothing in your story has been wasted. Every person who came into your life, every loss, every silence, every small step forward, they've all been part of the same design. You're not improvising your life, you're being shaped. You don't need to have all the answers today, you just need to stay present, stay aware, and stay open to what life is trying to show you. Because the path only reveals itself as you walk it, not before. Real strength isn't about resisting your destiny. It's about learning how to walk with it. If you've made it this far, write in the comments, "I trust the process." Reaching the end of this video is no accident. It means something in you wants to grow, and that already sets you apart from most. Subscribe and share this video with someone who needs it. That simple gesture helps us keep spreading this message of growth. On screen, you'll find a playlist to go even deeper. Click and let's keep learning together.